Hello, welcome to our Fertility Voices. As usual, every Thursday. Well, today's Friday, getting confused. Anyway, Fertility Voices. This is the space here on our Instagram page where we bring you patients who have been through fertility problems or also professionals who are helping these patients. And today I'm talking to Sandy. Hi, Sandy. I'm going to bring you in because we want to learn everything about Sandy, who is an amazing embryologist and fertility coach with so many years of experience. And I've met Sandy not long ago face to face at the Modern Family Show. See if we can bring Sandy in. And we thought we need to do something together on Instagram. Hi, Sandy.
Hi, Andrea. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Good. Just yeah, all set up here. Bit of bad lighting, I'm afraid. My husband is also home today, so we are dividing spaces as best as we can.
It has become the norm, isn't it, with everyone working from home?
Yes, most definitely. Yeah.
And I was just remembering that we met in London at the Modern Family Show, wasn't it? Not
Yeah,
long ago.
yeah, in September. That was a great event hosted by Two Dads UK by Mike and Wes, who also started my official surrogacy journey. And yeah, that was such a good event. It was really nice to meet finally in person. Exactly.
Yes, after following each other on Instagram for so long.
I know.
And Sandy, I wanted to bring you here just to showcase what you're doing, because I know you're an embryologist,
Mhm.
but you're also a fertility coach. And I think there's not many embryologists who also enjoy having that face-to-face time with patients. Usually they're hidden in the lab. So you bring such a good and interesting perspective, I think. Can you tell us a bit about your journey of being an embryologist and then eventually becoming a fertility coach?
Yeah, no, of course. Thank you. So I started working in my first IVF clinic in Sweden in 2009, and absolutely loved it. Thought it was wonderful and kind of wanted to grow in my career, and which is why I moved to London, and had a really good experience working in a relatively small fertility clinic in London. And the reason that was such a good experience was because I got so much patient contact, and
Mm,
it felt like that was our main focus.
okay.
And unfortunately, as you know, things change, clinics change, sometimes we kind of lost that focus on patients, that kind of care that I really enjoyed providing. And I felt that that just gave such a big gap in support, which was unfortunately a negative impact for a lot of patients going through treatment. So that is essentially what led me to embarking on this big career change, and helping people go through treatments and coaching them from the outside instead.
So is there like different organizational cultures where embryologists are more patient facing in certain clinics than others? How
I
does it work?
Yeah, I think there's a big difference in clinics, and I also think that there's a big difference in different countries as well.
Okay.
I have also worked in a large clinic in London, and we did not get as much like one-on-one time with the patients, and I kind of missed that. And so, yeah, I guess there's just differences everywhere, really. And I enjoyed being in touch with patients, and I enjoyed kind of helping them and answering their questions and guiding them through the process, because I think after that egg collection there's just this sort of big question mark of like what's going on, and it was nice to be able to provide that reassurance and comfort to them whilst going through treatment.
And Sandy, I imagine that you being an embryologist, you get like different questions from patients as a fertility coach as well.
Mhm.
That I imagine maybe someone who is a coach but is a patient, or is a coach but is a nurse, they probably get different questions as well. What are some of those questions that patients ask you?
Definitely. So I think a lot of my treatment related questions are to do with treatment add-ons and the kind of chances of success with different add-ons, or improving their chances of, you know, bringing home a baby. And I think in the end, that's all anyone wants to do, right? We want to help patients, clients, people create their families however they may choose. And a big thing that I think we're seeing now in the UK is that a lot of the treatment add-ons are being sold as increasing chances of conceiving, and sometimes that's not the case. So that's a big element of my coaching, has to do with the different treatment options that are available.
Do people ask you as well to grade their embryos?
Yes, all the time. Which I'm really sorry, but I can't do that on, like, from a picture. The difference is, you know, as an embryologist, we work in a clinical setting with the most amazing microscopes that you would ever see. And by having a microscope, you can actually see embryos through multiple planes, and you can't do that with a 2D image. So I could, you know, give you a very general description of your embryo, but not, I could not be able to grade it from just a picture, no.
And I think these days clinics even have those equipments that allow them to have images almost continuously, isn't it, of the embryos that give you even more information, isn't it? How far do you think the embryologist, as a professional working in science, how much has this science evolved since you started in 2009?
Oh, goodness, so much. I mean, in 2009, my clinic was still slow freezing embryos, and now I
Wow.
think every moved to vitrification, which is the rapid freezing with a high concentration of cryoprotectant, and it's got so much. And I mean, we thought the results were really good back then with slow freezing, but vitrification has even better results with survival rates and pregnancy rates. And yeah, so time lapse is another big thing. That is the incubator with a built-in microscope that takes pictures every 5 to 10 minutes and produces these amazing images of embryos. That has really helped both in kind of making things easier in the laboratory, but also helps with selection of embryos. And the uninterrupted culture is also meant to be good for the embryos. There are different papers that say different things, and we can't say for certain that it does increase the chances of pregnancy. But they, I mean, as a tool, I loved using it, absolutely. And I think there are a lot of applications now that are starting to emerge where artificial intelligence can also help. So whether that would be selecting the best embryo for transfer, or, I mean, there are new techniques that claim that they might be able to replace invasive procedures like an embryo biopsy. And if that is the case, that would be groundbreaking and amazing. But I think it's still a bit early days, so we're not entirely sure when that application could become available, but things are changing all the time, and, you know, hopefully for the better.
And we have here embryo artists saying that patients enjoy meeting the embryologist, and that's something that you've said as well, that they do enjoy that, but they don't always get the chance.
I would like to think so, yes. I think, you know, it can be really nice to put a face to the name. We do often have contact with patients when they're going through treatment by calling them and giving them updates on how their embryos are doing. And if they actually get to see us as well, it gives just an added sense of security, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would like to think so. I hope so, you know, after having worked as an embryologist in different clinics with different practices, I hope that patients prefer when they get to meet us and see us and feel like they're better taken care of. Yeah.
And how challenging is it to give bad news? Because I understand that's also part of the role, isn't it? When maybe the eggs aren't mature or you don't have good embryos. How do you do that?
It is very hard, and I feel like there's never an easy way. And we just always try to be as um, honest about what's happening, and explain. It's always, there is a difficulty in explaining something that's quite scientific, but without, you know, being too simple in the language. I mean, it's, you want people to be able to understand it, but also not feel like you're being condescending in your tone. So it's a really difficult balance of trying to explain some things that can be really, really complex, that also unfortunately may carry a very, you know, devastating bad news to the patient. We had training. I wouldn't say that we had a lot of training, and I think there's, you know, an element of needing to have some sort of, you know, empathy and sympathy towards the patients, and those conversations are hard for everyone, but you want them to feel supported, and I'm not sure everyone is equally good at providing that support, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And we have here embryo artists saying that it's always better to have a clinician support with embryologists to craft the bad news to the couple, be frank, be appropriate, and counsel how to overcome, if possible, or plan the next cycle meticulously.
So we wouldn't always have that possibility, to be completely honest, especially if there was something in the laboratory like no eggs fertilized on day one. We would be the first point of contact to the patients, and in a different clinic I was able to, you know, get more training on genetics, so we would deliver news to patients in regards to their biopsy results if they had done PGTA or PGTM. And you know, I know a lot of clinics that would use genetic counselors to do that. Some clinics don't have them, and then we have to be the ones to provide that bad news. It's definitely something that I myself have highlighted both when working and since it. I wrote a paper on delivering bad news. It was an abstract that got accepted to ESHRE, to highlight the need for people like myself and all of my colleagues to get that training, and whether that is something that is done, you know, back when we're in school and university, and like learn that alongside all of the practical and clinical, you know, tools and methods that we are learning, or if it's something that's done at a later stage when working in clinics. But I think it would be useful for everyone to have a kind of proper training where you practice one-on-one with people on how to talk to people if you're delivering bad news. Yeah,
I think even doctors and nurses, they also don't have that training, I think. And when we speak with doctors or nurses and we are the patient ourselves, that's when we realize. And recently I've had a couple of friends being diagnosed with cancer, and the way doctors have delivered the news is just completely appalling, you know. And I remember when the doctor told me that I didn't have a uterus, I mean, it was just so raw, direct, and it didn't follow on with a solution to the problem, I think.
I'm so sorry.
But I remember, Sunny, when I moved here to the UK and I was referred to a hospital here where they had a specialist team, I remember the doctor treating me as if I was as it was the first time I was being diagnosed, and her way of approaching things was completely different. And she made drawings to explain things. She explained the options for the future, and I thought this is how it should be, really, for people.
I mean, unfortunately, I've been on the wrong end of a doctor, you know, saying a comment in passing that was quite hurtful. And yeah, I think there are many aspects in healthcare where a proper training like this could be really beneficial. I recently completed the national bereavement and care pathway that's available to like healthcare staff on the NHS, and while it's good that something like that exists, it was also very it was informative, but it was just very, very short. And I think those things need to be really highlighted as important, especially in this field. Definitely.
And Sandy, another thing that I think about embryologists is that many times patients who don't get to see the embryologist or have that contact, they don't have the idea of how important your work is, because even though the doctor is there transferring the embryo, you're the one who has been nurturing, growing that embryo, and you're the one choosing which embryo to transfer, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, transferring it. And I'm really sorry, I've just noticed how dark it got in this room. Transferring embryos, loading it into the catheter and bringing it carefully into the theater. Yeah, we do have a very large role. And are sometimes forgotten. But again, I think different clinics have different practices. And I've been really lucky to work in some amazing clinics where we are very much presented as a team, and I think that is the best way forward. And even moving forward in the world of IVF, it is nice that there are so many clinics that are also teaming up with complementary therapies of different types as well, because they address it as a multifaceted kind of problem that multiple people can help solve together. And while it is very much a medical treatment that is necessary to some in order to conceive, it is also emotionally draining and physically challenging, and to be able to incorporate other people into treatment and say, like, these are the different types of support you may need, is really a good way forward. It will benefit the patients in the long run. So yeah,
absolutely. And Sandy, moving on to your new role as a fertility coach, do you enjoy working with patients who are trying naturally, or do you work more with those that are already in the clinics? How does it work, and what does coaching really involve?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. It's very, I guess the support that people need is very different depending on where they are in their journey, or what journey they are taking. I have had clients who are still kind of trying naturally, but are exploring the different treatment options that might be available. And I've had clients who have tried naturally for a really long time and feel unsupported by their doctors and haven't been referred for investigations or tests, even though they should have been. So that type of coaching is very much more in like how to advocate for yourself with your doctor, and like how to push for those things that you are entitled to. And then of course coaching through different types of treatment that's available. And I think also a lot of the time it's trying to provide an element of education, of fertility education, which is kind of lacking. In general, it's not something that we were taught properly in schools, but also educating on what treatment options are available. As moving forward as a patient, the more you know, the better decisions you can make, the more informed decisions you can make, and ultimately the more confident you will feel going through your treatment. So that's what I try to do. I just try to help however help may be needed.
And Sandy, how can patients engage with you? How can they find you and start that interaction?
So I am on Instagram, of course. I have a website where you can read more about me, about what I do and the services that I provide. People can feel free to send me a DM or email me through my website. I've got a free resource library that you can sign up to as well, and you don't have to opt into any marketing and things like that. So I am in a few different places. So people, I am also on a different platform where I have an e-course available. So I've got a few different things, things out there and different ways of connecting with me.
And people can find all that information in your website.
On my website, yes, absolutely. So my courses are published there as well, so you can find out how much they cost and where they are and what else is out there.
And what is your website, just so for people who might not know it yet?
Thank you. No, it is my name, so it's sandychristiansen.com.
Amazing, amazing, Sandy. Thank you so much for talking to me today.
It was so lovely. Thank you for having me. And yeah, it was, apart from being really dark in here, it was really nice to catch up again, and we should do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Sandy.
Take care. Have a
Lots of
good
love.
week. Bye.
Bye.